Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Lights Out League Racing. This is season 24, season 24's finale, and in Montreal at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. And what a crescendo to the season that we've got here. It's looking a little bit damp. The rain gods were dancing, and everybody was hoping it wasn't here, but it's looking damp, and I don't know how it will carry over to the race. It will be interesting, and it's such a driver's favourite, this track. Such a fast, low downforce, stop starting with all the heavy braking chicanes, and that famous hairpin to get the anchors working, to get the foot down. And we've got the fantastic 16 drivers. We're so close to the launch of the new game, and we've got such a brilliant turnout, which I'm so pleased. You don't often get that with a lot of leagues, and everybody's showing up for us, and I do love you all for that. As we've got some drivers coming out on track, got new face with us this week. Where is he? Where's Loopy Lou? I'm blind. There he is, in the Haas. He's currently in the garage, but welcome to Looper, joining us first time this week. We've got one or two regular drivers out, and some people have left as well, so there is a bit of a mix-up on the grid, but we have drivers with us, so which is fantastic to see. And of course, the championship drivers' championship was decided last week. Ryman D took the crown off Portuguese Beast, but we still have it to play for this week between the Ferrari team and the Mercedes team, who we are on with now. There is a 41 points gap, but it's still mathematically possible, and Canada is known to mix things up, and if weather conditions are crazy as well, that's going to mix things up. And what we'll do, as always, is jump on with a hot lap, and we will be joined by Mr. Katami. So we'll start down to the start-finish line with that DRS open, turning down to turns 1 and 2, the center S. All we want to do is turn in, take as much curb as possible, and then follow turn 2 around nice on the inside, come on the outside to open up that corner, up to turns 3 and 4, which is a tight chicane, not very easy to invalidate, which he keeps within those track restrictions. Around turns 5 and 6, up to another chicane. And there is, again, I want to take that corner, cover the curb and open up the exit of turn 7, open that DRS, coming up to turn 8 now, the Ponte de la Concorde. Looked like he invalidated, but he's took it nice and smooth to open up a overtaking opportunity to come down to the hairpin, turn 10, where it's 180 degrees, full lock. And there's different lines to take. You want to get as much throttle on the exit to open up the DRS, and there's going to be plenty of overtakes we're going to see here. Oh, we're going to see people taking it to the wire, coming down to turns 13 and 14. A nice, another fast chicane, and he's gone wide, invalidated, and he spun. He managed to keep it, and almost hitting that wall of champions, but has fell to the conditions. Is it a little bit slippery as we come with Adamako, who's going to be the first one to cross the line for a lap. Stays within the limits and crosses the line with a 1:10.2. Great first lap from Adamako. One of the championship contenders. I think Ahmed D is next to cross the line, who is championship winners, now looking to get the double. Takes the provisional pole of 1:09.8. Great lap from him. I think Haas is just setting his first lap of a 1:12.4. J2 Frosty just behind. So great initial lap. First to the league for Looper in the Haas. Taken over from Noodles, as we've just seen Big Racky and Jax Daniels jumping ahead of him to P3. Provisional P3 to 10.7. So these early times being set from everybody now. I think initially my quali time was a pole time was a late 1:09s. Might even be a mid. So I have to keep an eye on that. Who we got coming round? Just going diving in the pits. We've got a McLaren coming next, which I think is Wesker is on an out lap. We'll jump on Mr. Doe Biggin, who's invalidated on this lap, unfortunately. Lina Zukin, who's one of our reserves today, jumping in the Red Bull for Thalamy. DRS is open. We'll see what his first time's going to be. And jumps up provisional P4 with 11.3. Great first lap from him. And we'll jump on with Wesker and follow him round. Nice to see Wesker again on the grid with us, filling in for AJ today. And hopefully he can get some good points on the board for the McLaren team. Takes it nicely, coming out. Coming up to turn 8. And it looked like invalidated there. What's going on there? What's Codemasters playing at? Little cheeky corner cut. Or do my eyes deceive me? I do say regularly, I need glasses, but Wesker's gone to take the apex at the hairpin and a wide exit to get as much on the throttle as possible. As he keeps it within limits. Bumps on the wall, champions, but keeps the car going. Look like his back wheel. But crosses the line for a provisional P4. So we'll jump on again with Katamise. He's doing another lap. Invalidated his first one. As he's coming up the end to sector 2. And we'll see where his time is set on his previous one. He is, of course, on the same tyres. Didn't actually set a lap last time because of the spin, so. But we're I think he's potentially going to be top 3 with this time. We shall see as he comes around. Let's hope he doesn't invalidate again. It is an absolute killer when you do it right at the end of the lap. And he comes over provisional P5 with a 10.8 just behind Wesker. Jump on with Portuguese now, who is one of the race challengers. He's very quick about him. Hasn't got a race this season yet. They have been given to Amadi, who's currently got 4 of the wins, and then Adamako with the other one. So will we get a different winner this week for the last race of the season? We shall see, and Portuguese will be one of those fighting for the win, and that unless he does trip over something that's obstructing the track that is known for groundhogs and gophers. As he comes over the final chicane, a little bump on the World Champions again, and does take provisional pole with a 109.7, just a 10th ahead of Amadi. So great lap from him and showing everyone else what the pace needs to be. Mr. Dan Morris. Unfortunate last week, did finish on the podium during the race, but because of penalty removal was knocked down to P4 unfortunately, but it was a great fantastic showing from him last week. Can he match that pace this week? A lot of drivers have been complaining about the grips on this track. As Sygate jumps up to P9 in his Red Bull with 11.6. One of the big things I think this week is going to determine the final grid will be penalties. It's very easy to cross over those track limits, and I think a lot of drivers will just kiss in the wall. Right, Holly Valance, and goes up to provisional P7 with 11.2. So I think he's got a little bit more time to find, but we'll see what his teammate's doing. Stiffmeister has been validated. Who have we got coming around first? Adam Mako. And jumping up to provisional P2 with a 109.742. How close is that? 3 thousandths just behind pole. And Amity is invalidated. And so is Jack. So Adam Mako currently P2. We'll jump on with Lina Zukin to see if he can improve his time. Currently in sector 2. Coming up to Concord. Keeping it within the lines in the Red Bull. Gives you wings. And he is 2/10 up on his time. Currently will jump him up a place, but will he have any more time to find in this last sector to get him ahead of Katamies and Wesker? We shall see. Drivers looking like they're getting out of the way, which is good. He's getting a little bit of tow here off the Haas, off Lupo. Lupo is trying to set a lap, and Linazukan does jump up to P7, just ahead of Dan Morris. 300ths ahead. Great lap from him. Will Jax or Amadi look at doing another lap? Amadi is a 10th up on his time. He is the one to beat. Is he going to push hard and validate those? Looking good so far. A little bit of a look up. So he starts that final straight. It's looking good. It's going to be tight at the top. There's only going to be a 10th in it, I reckon. He's still within the limits. What's his time going to be? And does get provisional pole with a 109.6, so a good 10th above P2 and 3. But it does mean it gives the other two something to fight for. Jack's doing well in P4, but he is down in his time. He's not invalidated there, has he? So we'll jump on Mr. Dobiggin in the Alpine. Cut that corner and invalidated. Turn 2. You'll be fuming, getting yourself all set up and then doing it straight off the bat. Hello, Lupe. I like the film. It's a good film. Just coming round Concord. Turn 9. Open up for an overtaking opportunity in the race. Looks like he's spunked all his ERS though. But he is a 10th and a half up on his time. Won't get him any further up the grid, but he will just improve his time. It's always good to go a little bit faster. I know that you are going faster as the qualifying ensues. Dan Morris gets himself up to P4. The 10.6. Great lap from him. Luper comes round the final corners. Will his time improve? And he doesn't improve, just slightly over on his time. Unfortunate. Mr. Consistent Geezer. Get himself in the top 10. We'll see where he's up in his time coming out of the sector 2 here. And he's just slightly up, which could get him above Cygate. He's a little bit off time off Big Racky, so I don't know if this is one of his tracks that he's getting a tow here off the McLaren. Is that Big Racky giving a hand, moves out of the way? Or is it Wesker? But he's invalidated. That's unfortunate. I'd improved slightly to get him up a place, but he's invalidated. Cygate has invalidated, so we'll jump on with Mr. Katamies, who's invalidated. I told you track limits is going to be an issue. We'll jump on with Stiffy, Mr. Stiffmeister, who's invalidated on this lap as well. He just can't get a lap in. Mr. Joe Biggins then in the final hairpin. Can he improve on his? Can he get a time on the board? I don't think it's going to be a good time, but a time is a time. It will get him at least where he is now. I don't know, he's gone straight in the pit. So you see Danny Dine, Mr. Danny Dine, he never, whenever I've raced him, or even in this league, he doesn't set a quali lap. And I think he just likes to save himself some tyres, start from the back and just go about his own way. We've got 3 minutes 50 seconds left. That means everyone's got a lap left in their tank to set a final qualifying at the circuit. Gilles Villeneuve, fittingly named so, because Gilles Villeneuve did get his maiden victory at this track. Canadian driver one of 4 Canadian drivers to get points at this track. Shields and Jacques. Lance Stroll, the prick, and also Latifi, who somehow managed to get a seat in F1. Strange. Now what we want to see is everybody. We don't want to see any safety cars. There is a high chance we're going to get one potentially from the Wall of Champions. Only actually named from the Grand Prix from 1999, where over the weekend, all of Damon Hill, Jacques Villeneuve, and Michael Schumacher had an excursion in the Wall, and since then, yeah, named Wall of Champions. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. Staying well out of the way there. So Big Raki slightly up on his time. 800ths. Would slightly get him above Katamis at the moment. But this will be his final lap, so he doesn't want to invalidate. But he's been very. I call Giza very Mr. Consistent, but Big Raki also. He's been near the top of the like top 6, and then he always ends up having some sort of incident or a spin. He is Mr. Spin, but he'll hopefully qualify well. Keep it in the lines. He does so, and he crosses line for his final lap, and goes up to P5 with a 1:10.6. Great lap from him. Is that Katamis? No, Adamako's on a lap. Giza's on his lap. I think there's a Red Bull coming over. Is Linazukan, who has invalidated. Will he get another lap in? We won't know. Not Frosty. I think everybody is coming over and potentially setting a lap now. So Wesker's on an out lap. That is Frosty on a lap. He's invalidated. He's going to go straight in the pits, I think. Portuguese Beast. No, he's invalidated. So he's not going to improve at all. He's not going to improve at all. He's not going to improve at all. But it means Adam Mako could. As we got another Red Bull crossing the line. Cygate. Stays P10. Still got Amadi to set a lap. He's going to do his out lap. Jax has come around to start a lap. Followed by Adam Mako across the line and can't improve on his P3. So it is, unless someone can do a big upset, I think that might be a top 3. Linazukan jumps into the pits. Got Wesker coming down, who is 2.5 tenths up in his time. That can get him potentially up to a P4, which is best of the rest. Keeps it in the lines, crosses the line, and does get up to P4. Fantastic lap from Wesker. And we do next have Stiffy, who needs to set a lap. He has kept it in the lines currently, but has pulled out of a lap, so he's not done a lap, so he will finish at the back. Let the Red Bull go of Cygate, who's jumped in the pits as well. Who've we got coming next? We've got Jax coming round. Can he jump up the board? He's got a car towing him behind. I know it's a bit of team play. I think Portuguese Beast trying to help him, new Masters lap, but Jax stays where he is, and that is it. I think we had quite a few invalidations, but that is your grid, and Amadi takes another pole, another point to his standings and to the standings of Ferrari. just slightly ahead of Portuguese and Adamaco. Both couldn't improve on their final runs. And the sun has come out. Will it remain for the race? Only the drivers will know. They'll be killing me if the rain comes out. But I'm sorry. It wasn't me. Quite a few changes over this track over the years. Where you're coming round now at the hairpin. This is where the pit used to be. It did get moved, of course, to the final chicane. And the pit exit was relocated as well. For health and safety prevailed. And this is your standings for the race. Amadi taking pole with just 10th behind Portuguese and Adamaco on top 3. Wesker joining Adamaco on the second row. Dan Morris and Big Raki on the third row. Great qualifying from then. Jax and Katamise, and then Alan Azukin and Sygate rounding out the top 10. Mr. Geezer and Looper on his first running out getting P12. JD Frosty P13 and Doe Biggin P14. Danny Dine P15 and Stiffy rounding off the grid. Both of them not setting a time. So whoever's watching, speak in the chat who you reckon's going to win. I'm going to go... I'm going to go Adam for the win. I'm going to go Portuguese. And I reckon I'm going to go for... I'm going to get Wesker on the grid. It's looking a little bit damp again. Now, strategy, everyone will be sorting out their fuel loads, sorting out their tyres. Is that wet for... Hey, look, it slicks. It looks slicks to me. There's no rain. And then for me, I would go hards to mediums, pitting on lap 18, 19, depending on if you want to get the undercut or not. Undercut is strong on this track, so... but I reckon we're going to see 1 or 2 safety cars, which will mix up this grid, mix up strategies. And they go around that turns 1 and 2. It's going to be tight. They're going to be like a claustrophobic astronaut. They're going to want a little more space than they're going to get. As the clock is ticking down, can you hear it, everybody? Amadi and Portuguese on that front. Who's going to get the better launch off the line? As that's 5 lights. And we're away in a minute when the game catches up to me. And we are away. It looks like Amadi's got a better launch, and he will have the inside of turn 1. And Portuguese has a slow launch, and Adamaco will have the inside of turn 1. But Portuguese will have the launch off turn 2. As everyone looks like they're getting away well. No one looks like they've had any major contact. Loop has dropped a couple of places. No one's looked like they've had any major drop in. As Amadi has got away from Portuguese. As we'll watch from the back, and everyone's going through single file. No one has dropped at all. That's good to know. But look at your strategies here. Katamise and Amadi on softs, and that's why Amadi got that launch away. Utilising. Is he going to do a soft to hards or soft to mediums, or is he expecting a safety car? But majority of people have started on hards, like I suggested. Oh, was Wesker jumps in the inside of Dan Morris. And Lenazukan ahead of Sygate. The 2 teammates battling hard there. But Wesker has made it ahead of Dan Morris. Dan Morris is battling hard. It's a 3-way with Katamise as well, who is on the softs. Katamise trying to go on the inside of Wesker and causes Wesker to spin. I think Katamise was trying to be a bit optimistic there. And we now have 4 going down into turn as Jax is battling just in the outside, and Wesker's retired. Did he go into the pits? And that's a spin there from Jax. A bit of contact has gone down to the back of the grid. Wesker has retired in the pits. And Sygate, has he lost connection in the Red Bull? And there's a lot of battling there, and I think 1 or 2 potential steward reports. Some of those overtakes looked a little bit risque. Looping now up to the top 10. Danny Dye making the overtake on Sygate, who has who has disconnected. And that's Giza. We've lost Giza. I think Span on turn 8 on Concord has got to drop to the back of the grid. He'll be hoping for a safety car now. I hope he hasn't got any damage. We'll see if he jumps into the pits or not. Jack's working his way back up past Sidegate. I'll try and get an invite back out to Sidegate. Where are you there? Getting back in the game. It's Amity as we jump back on him. Let's take the current fastest lap and is now pulled nearly 2 seconds ahead of Portuguese. Dobiggin getting its corner limit. Him and Katamise getting his for that opportunist overtake on the final chicane. Actually, I don't think the door was available there. And he's dropped Adamaka as well. Everyone's pulled away really. It's just got Katamise right behind Lindazuken. DRS will be active, I think, after this lap, if it isn't already. Katamise trying to look to make good use of the soft tyres. Right up behind Lindazuken now. He should be able to make this easy overtake. You can feel his tyres vibrating with the wear as he's using up his ERS. I think Lindazuken's not going to battle too hard as we've lost Sidegate again. Again making the overtake on his teammate Josh, who's a little bit slow going out of the final corner, which gives an open opportunity for Stifler to make the overtake. And he does go down into turn 1 and holds it as he's going round. Jax is looking to battle as well on the outside of Frosty. We're getting penalties galore here. Look at all those penalties. It's only lap 4. I can't depict who's going to be finishing where on this grid until the final finishing line. As Jax has made it stick and has now chasing up Stiffy. Stiffy trying to make defence, and Jax driving in there. I don't know if it was a bit of a hard defence there from Frosty, but Jax spinning round on the Concorde on the inside. It was cutting the corner. I don't know if he had no space to go, whether it was his fault or anyone else's, but it'll probably be discussion for after the race. But plenty of battling hard here. I know it's the last race on this game, but come on guys, keep it clean. Let me try and invite Sidegate again. Get back in the race. Codemaster's having a mare, trying to keep this connectivity going. Samadi. His type's a bit of a tyre wear now after the 5 laps as Portuguese has managed to catch up on the hards. He's now within almost within a second. These two battling hard, and I don't know if stuffs were the way to go. I think he was expecting a safety car, but it hasn't come. Adamako for almost 4.5 seconds now. We're riding his own race, but easy podium if he can keep it within the limits. Dan Morris in P4. Katamise on P5. Those softs will wear. A little bit of losing his back, a little bit of traction loss there. Coming down to hairpin. Another penalty on the board for another driver. I think his tyre wear is high now. Who we lost? It's a Red Bull. I think that's Sidegate's car. I think Sidegate, when rejoining, has lost a wing. He's got enough wings though. He is in a Red Bull. Get back in that garage. Get back in this session. Stop leaving. We want you here. We're missing the race because of you. Get back in. There's Danny Dine. Speed in the pit lane. Italian hand gesture from Danny Dine. You don't want one of them. And that's an early pit stop from Danny Dine on the hot. Jumping onto the hards. As we got a VSE because of the crash. We've got 1 or 2 others jumping in the pits, and that's an opportunity for Katamise to jump in. I jumped onto the hards as well. I don't know if I've had Doe Biggins jump in too, but none of the front runners have jumped in. it would have been a great time for Amadi to jump in the pits, but I don't think the VSC will be out long enough for him. As Portuguese is right behind him, looking to make an opportunity on the safety car restart. Now, hopefully, no one's going to be speeding. Watch your delta. I don't want to get my Italian hand out. It's the last race. We're in Canada, not Monza like last week. As it is away, I think if it was out any longer, Amadi would have jumped in. As Katamis jumps ahead of Jax on his fresh hards. Coming down past the hairpin. Jax will look at retaking the overtake as DRS is enabled. Jax knows better to try and force it there. Mistake that Katamis had, and that's a penalty by Portuguese. That's a penalty by Portuguese, which will potentially have a big say on who wins this race. Jax right up behind Katamis. But we will watch his front too, as Portuguese is going to try and look at these doing this overtake. It's such a fantastic track, this one, because you never know what you're going to get from it, especially when we're doing league racing. Whether either it's the weather conditions or track limits. Look at out of all the cars we've got, there's only 4 drivers that do not have any warnings. And I say we'll have a big say at the final standings. Portuguese is within the DRS, staying out of the slipstream to keep to minimise his tyre wear, and also so he doesn't scream up the back of Amadi and miss his braking point. He's jumping ahead of Frosty down to the final chicane. And he will get DRS on the second stint as well to make that pull away and make that position stick. As Jax makes the overtake on Josh as well. Up to P10. He's going to look to work his way back up the grid from the initial contact and in Concord. But if he keeps out within the track limits, he'll get some positions because of penalties too. As Josh gets some more penalties there. As we're in lap 8. Katamis makes the overtake on Stiffy. Coming up to Concord, great overtake down the DRS zone there. Stiffy will be vulnerable, having a bit of a mad line coming out as Portuguese has jumped ahead of Amadi and made it stick down the start finish. Amadi will look to try and stick with him, but how is his tyre wear? Lap 9, his tyres will be screaming, I think, at this stage. Will he be able to make half race distance on those softs? I really do doubt it, and he is the only one on the softs now. Looper doing the alternate strategy of mediums to hards, as Portuguese has broken that 1 second gap now. Amadi has managed to stay in that DRS zone, but will he be able to remain coming out into sector 3? He is out and locks up. He would not want to do that, and he has fell out of that DRS zone, which means Portuguese will be able to pull away. So jump on Lenazukan is up behind Big Raki. Both drivers doing well in positions 5 and 6. Lenazukan will have the DRS. And Amadi has jumped into the pits on his softs. Will he be looking to jump on hards for the rest of the race? 25 laps on hards. Mediums. So he is potentially looking at a 2-stopper or hoping for a safety car. And Lenazukan loses his back end a little bit, but manages not knock himself into the wall of champions as Amadi comes up behind the Big Raki and Lenazukan battle. So he's making the overtake down to turn 1 on Stiffy. Great driving from those pair, keeping it clean as Katamis comes up to turn 3 and 4 now. Very easy to Invalidate on those corners. Amadi right up behind Linazukan, who has been dropped by Big Raki. Will Linazukan try and battle this? He is fighting for position. Is he going to wait to behind to get the DRS? He will anyway. Linazukan defending well. As Amadi drives on the inside. Linazukan gives him plenty of room. Great driving from him to not impede too much. Amadi will look to want to try and get past Big Raki as quick as possible. As he pulls Linazukan with him. All drivers making it safe round the final corner. Looper in the Haas doing well as Amadi does overtake Big Raki on turn 1. Again, Big Raki's not going to fight it. He knows where his battles are. A little bit of loss of traction on the rear coming out of turn 2, which opens up the opportunity for Linazukan. When the DRS section comes round after this next chicane, you want to just ride the curve a little bit, stay on the apex of this corner and then open up the exit for the DRS zone. Linazukan isn't close enough, I think, to make that overtake. We've got our next battle here with Looper, Katamise and Stiffy. Katamise has got to bide his time and not force the overtake. He is on fresher tyres than the other drivers, but knows that there's better opportunities to do the overtaking, and this next straight with the DRS zone will be that moment. Will there be a double overtake as Looper will be here, sitting duck down this straight? He's going to be vulnerable to 2 DRS zones as Katamise makes easy work straight away. Looper slots in behind on the slipstream as Stiffy tries to make the overtake and into the corner, and Looper dives into the pits and will jump onto the hard tyres, I think. Very safe drive from Looper, well done to him for not battling too hard there, as he does jump onto the hard tyres and will look to go the rest of the race. So some different strategies at play here. Majority of people on hards. We have some medium runners. Of course, Amadi looking to get to the end of the race as he makes the overtake on Dan Morris up to P3. Dan not battling hard. Doing well. P4 now. Potentially want to try and stick with Amadi and get that pull on his DRS. Bit of late braking there. Almost has to make a big collision avoidance, but does have that DRS to follow Amadi down. This is the final straights. Big Raki and catching up only 2 seconds behind Dan Morris now. Linazukan gets another penalty. We are on lap 13, unlucky for some. Portuguese leads the way, almost 9 seconds ahead of Adamako and P2, both on the hards to medium strategy. For Amadi, he's not going to get on the mediums to the end of the race, surely to God. He is about 6.5 seconds behind Adamako and closing fast. But Dan Morris in P4. All these guys on hards, Big Raki P5, Linazukan P6. Katamise in the Mercedes P7, Stiffy on P8, Jax P9 and JD Frosty round off the top 10, and Keys Geezer, Mr. Consistent on P11, Danny Dine trying to get those extra points for the Ferrari and claim that Constructors. Looper P13, who has of course just stopped and looking to go to the end of the race on those hards. Joe Biggins, Christopher Biggins with that a little wobble on stream. P14, then Cygate, who's unfortunately keep disconnecting, but still running on P15. So Keys Geezer overtaking him there, but we'll be happy for the DRS action. And Stiffy making the overtake on Linazukan, who has jumped into the pits and jumping onto the medium, so he's looking to do the undercut. I think it's slightly early. You've got to do 21 laps on those tyres. I would have given it another 3 laps at least. But we'll see how he gets on. Potentially hoping for a safety car, but that won't do him well. Only for his tyre wear, and slots in just behind Giza. It's going to be held up a little bit, but Will knows there is a DRS zone right up the road, and it should be an easy overtake for him. The Giza on the older hard tyres, pushing him round the corner there. He can sniff what he had for dinner last night. DRS is open. Will he have enough in his... Giza defends the inside, not fighting too hard. Lenazukan makes the overtake down on Concord. Giza will follow him around to get that DRS as well. Great racing from those pair. Giza try and fight back with Danny Dine. I don't think he's close enough to make that overtake. So just follow him through. So great battling from them. As Adam Mako is now over 10 seconds behind Portuguese, and Amadi is closing in and can see Adam Mako. He's only 3 seconds behind now. They will potentially not battle too hard. I think Adam Mako will try and hold him up as much as possible, but they won't battle too hard as they are on different strategies, and I think it will come in play for Adam Mako later on down the line. Portuguese absolutely flying, even with the penalty. He'll try and keep it clean, avoid getting those penalties. He just comes around with all the champions there. Funnily enough, says Bienvenue au Quebec, which means welcome to Quebec, when you're flying at it and smash into smithereens. There's bits flying everywhere. If anyone here has played Gears of War on Xbox, there's bits in my mouth. Well, that wasn't invalid. That was a track limits warning if I ever saw one in my life. Another one. DJ Khaled. We're on lap 16, almost halfway through this race. Jax gets another penalty. They're ticking up for everybody. As Danny Dye makes the overtake on Giza. On his pressure hard. So it's a great overtake from Danny Dye up to P11. Just such a lovely driver, Danny Dye. Love him. Love him, and I hope he sticks with us next season. Of course, we'll be moving up to Lenazukan, making an overtake just ahead of turn 3. You don't see many overtakes there, but fantastic overtake. Getting better traction off turn 2. And JT Frosty, Josh, saw him coming and didn't, left him plenty of room. Great overtake from Lenazukan there. As Ahmadina makes the overtake. Adam Mako battling hard. They're both battling down to turn 13, and Ahmadi had to make an evasive manoeuvre. As Adam is defending hard on the outside of turn 1. Closes the door on Ahmadi. Battling hard. Does not want to give position away here. Knows that even though we're on different strategies, he doesn't want to let Ahmadi go flying. We'll keep him behind him and probably just until the DRS zone. But defending hard. But it's finding it hard to get that traction off the line on those used hards. Ahmadi on those fresher mediums. Adam Mako defend the inside. And Ahmadi staying behind. Knows that he hasn't got enough in his engine to fight back. Trying to stay in his slipstream. Adam Mako doing the one manoeuvre as Ahmadi goes on the outside. Adam Mako giving him as little room as possible, but goes wide. Ahmadi trying to do the switchback on the inside, but slots behind him. Knows that he'll have the DRS. Adam Mako battling hard. But Ahmadi will make that move now. Great driving from there. Hard battling, but fair. As Ahmadi now will have that position in his pocket now, and will pull away on those mediums. Adam Mako will try and stick with him as much as possible, as those penalties do come flying again, and that is Big Racky in the pits. It's a 5-second penalty for speed in the pit lane for Big Racky. You get in an Italian hand gesture, and he jumps onto those mediums. Hey, what are you doing? Hey, have a spaghetti. And he's coming out potentially. Will he come out behind the drivers ahead of him battling? did Linezuken. Linezuken did do the undercut, but not much. He did get held up in moments. And will have Jax, Linezuken and Big Raki. Linezuken, Big Raki will want to jump back past Jax as quick as possible, who's on the used hards. Now, Adamako has been dropped by Amadi, who is almost 13 seconds behind Portuguese. But also potentially will have to pit stop again as Linezuken makes that easy overtake of Jax, who didn't battle that hard going into Concord. And Big Raki will want to follow through as well. Right up behind Jax on those fresher tyres. And there should be any look at the traction off that corner. Dan Morris, hey! Hey, Dan Morris, you're speeding in the pit lane! Oh, Dan, Italian hand gesture. As Big Raki has made the overtake on Jax Daniels and follows Linezuken through turns 13 and 14. Will he look to try? He's got to look at that speed. He's got through that final corner, making the overtake on Linezuken down to turn 1. A great drive from Big Raki. Makes that stick and just comes out just ahead of Dan Morris. Dan Morris is trying to fight out of the pit lane. Again on fresher tyres. Big Raki fighting hard into turn 3. But Dan Morris just slots behind, pushing around the corner. It's like the human centipede. They're stuck together. Stuck together like glue. I'm talking about me and you. We've got Stiffy in P5, but he's got Big Raki, his teammate, his Williams teammate as well. P7. Linezuken. Jackson P9. We've got a 5-car train. It can be all action here going down the after the hairpin. Big Raki loses breaking point and just pushes Stiffy wide a little bit, and that will hinder his launch off the hairpin. As Dan Morris makes that overtake now, we've got 3 wide. Big Raki jumps ahead of Dan Morris. Bit of wheel banging. As Big Raki's got nowhere to go behind Stiffy and has had to. Stiffy jumps into the pit lane, and Dan Morris has got the position. Big Raki had nowhere to go. He's going to try and take the position back. He doesn't. He slots in behind Dan Morris. Wise driving there. Linezuken right up behind. And Jax is in the pits as well. Danny Dines is in the pits as well. So everybody going on to doing their mandatory pit stop, jumping onto the mediums. Looper's going to be the lonely figure on the hards and potentially will get overtaken by the cars coming out of the pits now. As we'll jump on with Big Raki, who is with Dan Morris. Makes that overtake on Dan Morris coming down to Concord. Great overtake, great driving from those pair. Plenty of room. And Amadee's got a penalty. Track limits, and that will come in play as he has overtaken Portuguese. But he's on older tyres, and Portuguese has got that fastest lap. And he's slotted behind, and that track limits penalty will come into play for Adamako potentially, as he has pitted onto the medium tyres. It will come down to the wire, and those track limits may come in play. As all the cars come in file now, coming down to turn 1. Big Raki. There's nothing to battle with coming down to turn 1 and 2. Penalties still flying in, so Adamako and Kisa Giza, the only ones who don't have penalties, and Portuguese making the overtake up to Concord, battling hard, and has also petted himself on the fresher mediums. Jack's making the overtake down to turn 1 on Stiffy, working his way back up the field. He's up to P9. He'll be looking to make a couple more overtakes, getting himself as high up the grid as possible after his earlier incidents. Amadi and Portuguese coming down the final corners. A little bit of a corner cut, I think, from Amadi, but he will have to pit again. There's no way he can do the 14 laps on these tyres, which could play into. And Katamise has also got to pit, who's currently in P3, but will hopefully, I think, going to do a little bit. Well, hopefully, I think there will be a little bit team play here of getting his teammate into a DRS range as Big Raki overtakes Dan Morris and to turn 13. Great overtake and great driving from these pair here. As Dan Morris looks to do the overtake on turn 1 and does. Big Raki giving him plenty of room again. These two battling hard, but some fantastic clean driving. As Linazukin is just coming out of the pits now and jumping, doing a two-stopper, jumping onto the softs. 13 laps is possible, so looking to make those overtakes. And Frosty has crashed, and is that a safety car going to be coming out? He has hit the wall of champions. He's hit the wall of champions. And is that a safety car coming out? I can't see one yet. Is he a VSC? Geezer. Get himself a penalty. As Joe Biggins making use of the yellow flag. I cannot see a safety car. There's no safety car. It is just for that area. Unfortunately, Josh has succumbed, like many of the greats. Don't think it's a bad one, but many of the greats, you've crashed on the wall of champions. As Amadi pits now. He's coming out on the mediums. And I think he'll come out. I don't think he's gonna come out ahead in P4. And he's got plenty of work to do if he wants to win this race. Jax Daniels making the overtake on Looper. Stiffy following him through. Looper getting himself a penalty. Getting a bit in the mix up there with Linazukin behind on the softs. He's going to be absolutely flying. Joe Biggins jumping on the softs as well. Pushing around the corner. Hey, you can't share your underwear. Stop getting so close. There's Linazukin. Oh, trying to go somewhere where there was no room to go. He did an overtake on turn 3 earlier, but there was no room on this time. He's going to have to make the overtake coming out of the chicane here. Again, oh, and knocks Looper and caused him to spin. Just didn't match his braking point, and I think if Looper would potentially want to go towards the stewards, he may do. Lynn is just to shows what the difference of used hards and new softs does, but yeah, couldn't match his braking point there. So we've got Dan Morris and Big Racky still battling hard. Dan Morris going on the inside of turn 1, making that clean overtake, and Dan and Big Racky giving him the room. What fantastic racing we've got here. This Big Racky's going to try and battle going into turn 3. Following him through. As Dan Morris gets to track limit, and that might come in play later on. But these two have been stuck to the hip. They're like Siamese twins. What's going to happen when one of you gets married? It's going to be awkward as fuck, isn't it? Is that Looper? Looper has spun on the wall. He's hit the wall of champions. There's the yellow flags come out in that sector. And like I said with Josh, only the greats hit that wall. And you have to be one of the greats. Just take it easy as you go around, because you're going to have some screaming tyres. As we're on 10 laps to go, Portuguese Beast is now nearly 18 seconds ahead of Adamaco. Amadi closing fast on Adamaco, who's in P2. Big Racky follows Dan Morris with the track limits. He just wants to fight fair for position, doesn't he? As he's looking to go on the inside of turn 1. Just doesn't have enough to overtake Dan Morris. Jax and Stiffy battling hard as well. Jax has got to defend well. The Stiffy's going to look to try and do the overtake on turn 1. Jax on the outside. The Stiffy follows him through. Isn't close enough to make that overtake. But he's got better traction off turn 2. They both got same tyres, but doesn't force the overtake. Great battling there from Stiffy. Knows that it's a dangerous place if driver isn't expecting it. And knows we'll get another opportunity. Coming down the DRS straight here down to Concord. Again, I don't think he's close enough to make that overtake. He takes a look to the inside, but knows better of it. Amadi only just over 2 seconds now behind Adamaco. That will be for position, but he does have that 3-second penalty also. Adamaco will be battling hard as Amadi claims that current fastest lap. As we watch Stiffy. Stiffy right behind Jax. I never have a Stiffy right behind Jax. You've got to be a certain person that does it, and Stiffy is one of them. Makes it overtake. Down to turn 13. keeps it on the track as Jack goes, ooh, a little bit wide, but makes it stick with that second DRS zone. There's Dan, now right up behind Katamis. There's Dan, late man of the late breakers, makes the overtake, and Katamis slow on the corner. Big Raki dives in the back of him. Did he get any wing damage for that? Only time will tell, as Katamis was forced to go wide and out of sync on his line. It was just slow on the corner, and Big Raki did not. As Dan Morris's span coming out of turns 9. Oh, and he'd be absolutely gutted. I think Big Raki has been let pass by Katamis. Good sportsmanship by Katamis there to let Big Raki back through. I don't know if Big Raki does have any. As well, Katamis going into the pits. And John Marie's on those hold hard. There's no way he's going to get to the end of the lap, end of the track on there. So no. Jax and Stiffy battling hard again. Jax retakes the position over Stiffy on the same position, but Stiffy's going to try and fight back. Going down to turn 1. As Stiffy looks. As Katami's dropping down. As Stiffy behind Jax going to turn 1. Amadi right up behind Adamako now. 8 laps to go. Adamako's going to be battling hard, trying to keep him behind. Knows that there is that penalty as well. He knows that P1 is way out of his sights, but P2 is potentially so. He's going to defend hard, going down to turn 13. He's made his move, but Amadi, nice and easy overtake. Going up to P2. Has the DRS as well to pull away. Adamako will try to stick with him now. He's just got to stay within that 3 seconds. Katami's making that overtake on Stiffy. Up to P7 on those fresh softs. He's got 2 drivers ahead now that he's going to be sniffing for blood. As Jax makes the overtake up to P5 on Dan Morris. As Dan Morris jumps into the pits as well. Has he had damage? Or is he looking to just jump on some fresh softs? Katamis jumps ahead of Jack Daniels as well. Joe Biggins jumping on some fresh softs as well. Dan Morris with a time penalty. And it doesn't have damage, so he's just jumping on some fresh softs there. So Katamis jumping up to P5 ahead of Jax, who's going to want to stay with him. Danny Dine now moving ahead of Dan Morris as he comes out the pits. So currently we've got some great points here for the Mercedes team, as Adamako is staying with another penalty for Cat. So I eat my words, he'll be dropping down the order there with these penalties. We'll have a look at them with 6 laps to go. Adamako's just going to stay within those 3 seconds, and that P2 will be his. He is on older mediums. Amadi making use of that 2-stopper, but does have that penalty to his name. And let's have a look at these penalties while we're here. Big Raki with 11 seconds. Katami's with 15. Katami was just 6. Stiffy Linazukan with 9. And we've got a VSC. We've got a VSC. And who have we lost? Is that Stiffy? I think potentially we've had an issue with Stiffy here. And a VSC is out. Kisagis jumping in the pits to make opportunity. As Jax makes the overtake on, so I think who've we lost? No, there doesn't look like any major movers. Danny Dine jumps in the pits with some fresh softs. Hope potentially expecting a safety car here. If there's a safety car come out, the top 2 will not want that at all. They will not want a full safety car. I cannot see it. And it's a VSC for Amadi. A drive-through for Amadi. For speeding under the safety. There's a... Whoa, my God. I got lots of words. Amadi gets that drive-through. Which, as Amadi and Adamako jump in the pits of fresh softs as well. They know they've got the... Amadu. straight in the pit again for a drive-through. Do. You're an idiot. You're through. VSC. I say that. There's still time for other people. The Stiffy gets a drive-through as well for not watching his Delta. And who have we lost here? Is Big Raki. Has dropped in the pits, but and we lost Linazukan. I think Linazukan's retired in the pit lane. He's had enough. He could have kept going. There was only 6 laps to go. What's wrong with you, man? Because he's probably had enough. So Stiffy as well with a drive-through too. This bodes well for the Mercedes team, potentially. As Portuguese also dived in the pits for fresh softs. Amadi doing a lot of weaving there, trying to heat up his tyres. If he's letting Adamako through, knowing that he's got to go in the pits. Great driving there of Amadi, very experienced driving. Will this give an opportunity for Katamis? I don't think he's close enough to get. He's also got millions of penalties, so he's not going to get close enough. But that does consolidate that P2 for Adamako with 4 laps left to go. You silly sausage. And Stiffy jumps in as well. But to reserve his drive-through. So this potentially will bode well for Jax Daniels to get P4. Have we got anyone close enough to have any battling as we come to the end of this race? Adamako gets a penalty. But he's got 15 seconds on Amadi. He's got 15 seconds on Amadi. Will Amadi close that? Everyone on fresh softs. He's got 4 laps to close that gap. I don't think he'll do it. And Portuguese flying in with that fastest lap to nicking it off the Ferrari team. Now, I don't know. I won't be able to work it out. I won't be able to say on the stream, unfortunately, who will win the Constructors, because the points will be... I won't be able to issue the points out now. Crazy. Such a great track. I love Canada. I love Canada. Who've we got closest? Got Big Raki behind. Chasing Jax Daniels, who potentially could do the overtake with these fresh softs. Such a great track. I love it. And history prevails as well. History prevails as well. 2007, Hamilton's first ever win in F1. It was at the Canadian Grand Prix. Same track as well. If anyone remembers, Takuma Sato got driver of the day. Had numerous overtakes throughout that race, and even with the pit stop error as well by his team. And of course, with that same year, Robert Kubica with that atrocious crash where his car went flying. You see now Big Raki's caught up. And then, speaking of Kubica, he also got his only F1 win in Canada the following year, as Big Raki makes that overtake going down to the hairpin. Got better traction off turn 9. Makes it stick for now, but Jax will look to try and make the overtake again, coming down the final straight. DRS is open, but I don't think he's got enough wear in his tyres. There's Katami's getting another penalty. We just cannot keep it in the lines, man. And yeah, Jax unfortunately unable to make that overtake. We've got 2 laps to go of our final race of season 24 at Lights Out League Racing. And it's been a fantastic season. We've of course seen a domination by our championship winner of Amadi, last season's champion, as Dan Morris makes the overtake on Stiffy. His teammate potentially not battling too hard. His teammate passed Dan Morris up to P7 on those fresher softs. Great overtake from him. So loads of new faces this season join us what's happened is Portuguese has jumped in the pits to try and do another fastest lap. And this will be a battle for the win now. with Adamako right up behind, 1.5 seconds behind. I don't think he'll be able to catch him because he is on the fresh softs, but Portuguese looking to do another fastest lap to exert that dominance of the race. But yeah, plenty of new faces this season. No more so. We've got Steffi here, who's joined us new this season. Giza caught up right behind him now. I think Steffi's not going to be battling too hard either. DRS is open. Katami's with another penalty. He's trying to do a record on penalties. Will Giza try and do the overtake? Mr. Consistent. No, he's not thinking better of it. We'll wait for another day. Yeah, Steffi new with us this season. Doe Biggins, who's just come on screen with a penalty. New with us this season. Looper as well, who's new with us this new race. We've got Josh, who's retired, unfortunately. New with us this season as well. So plenty of new faces and plenty of old faces as well, who've been fantastic sports and loyal to our league. And we will look at rewarding these drivers with us next season. It's Giza. What's Katami's doing? He's having a right man. I think he's had enough now. And we are on the final race of final lap. As I want to jump actually with Adamako and Portuguese. Adamako right behind Portuguese now within a second. This is a race for the leaders. Giza just jump up to P8. Stop getting penalties, Katamis, otherwise I'll feed you your own cat litter. As Portuguese gets better launch off the corner, off the hairpin, and coming home to take the win. It looked like it would have been close there. As Portuguese comes round the final chicane and over the line to take his first race win of the season. And Adamako coming home with a valiant, very close P2. Amadi, the championship winner, coming home with his final and potentially constructors, but it cannot be confirmed today. Coming home with a fantastic P3 and onto the podium. Katamis with all his penalties, who knows where he'll finish. Getting another one just to round it off. But coming home in P4, but I don't think that's be where he finishes. Big Raki coming home in P4 himself. Jack Daniels jumping up to P5 ahead of Katamis. Dan Morris coming around the final corners now. And all the drivers, a round of applause to everybody as Stiffy jumps ahead of Dan Morris up to P7, but jumps ahead of Katamis up to P6. Stiffy stays in P8 by the look of it. Giza looks like he's got some damage there and no wing, but gets himself up to P8 ahead of Stiffy. He's in P9. Mr. Danny Dine, I tip my hat off to you. And coming home in P10. And I think with Katami's penalties, I think that is a race, a constructor's win for Ferrari as well. And driver of the day goes to Jack Daniels. From getting to the position that he did, from spinning off quite early. I tip my hat off to him. And here's your podium sitters. Portuguese on P1, Adamako P2, and Ferraris, Amadi and P3. Portuguese claiming his first win of the season. And just showing everyone that he's still around. And they're not shaking champagne. They're shaking. And I tell you one you haven't heard of. It's a drink called Moose Knuckle. It's a beer with moose drool in it. From Canada. We are from Canada. We are from Montreal. And that's a clink of those bottles. And we'll go through as Portuguese. What am I doing? I'm having a nightmare. Portuguese getting P1 and the fastest lap with a 10.7. Adamako P2, Amadi P3, and my driver of the day, Big Raki, getting that P4 and just showing his consistency for the season and getting a fantastic final grid slot. Jack Daniels P5, I think he'll be happy with that also. Dan Morris 2 P6, Katami's P7 with all those penalties too. Giza, Mr. Consistent P8, Mr. Stiffy P9 and Danny Dine ran off the top 10. Looper doing well in his first race. He lost in P11 and will, of course, anyone who finishes the race will get points. Joe Biggins P12, Sygate P13, and then unfortunately our retirees of Lindezuken, Josh and Wesker. So I do thank you all. I bid you all a good farewell for this season. We will be back for season 25 next season. It will be near the end of June on F1 24. And I have been Alex. I have thoroughly enjoyed hosting these races for you. It's been a pleasure to watch the racing that's ensued. And I see you all again soon. And I bid you all farewell. Peace out.